Alright, hello viewers, this is Marshy. I usually don't do something like this, but honestly, I had to go toe-to-toe with you today to talk to you about something. I saw something about an hour ago that was literally qualifies as one of the worst brain rapes I've ever seen in my entire life. I just got back from seeing 3 episodes of Star Wars, the Clone Wars TV show, the CGI one. A lot of people say the show is better than the old one, and that it's not bad. These people are wrong. After watching these 3 episodes, I walked down the hall to a friend of mine's room who actually is a fan of this show. I knocked on his door and waited for him to come out. After he came out, I told him he was wrong for liking the show and slapped him in the face. Then I went to the bathroom and went back to my room. Anyways, I'm here to make this video now. I watched 3 episodes. They were the last 3 episodes in Season 2. These episodes are Death Trap, R2 Come Home, and Lethal Trackdown. These episodes follow young Boba Fett, and it's awful. It is literally one of the worst things I've ever seen. It is not only a terrible episode sci-fi wise or Star Wars wise, it is terrible in any shape or form, and the fact that it exists only gives me solace in knowing that George Lucas is going to hell for its very existence. As a complete aspect, it is a total disaster and should be cleansed with bleach if you see it. Your eyes will melt in your face, and the only reason that I survive is because I have a high con score. So let's begin. First thing that's wrong with this episode, and there's going to be a lot of things wrong with these episodes, because even though it says it's executively produced by George Lucas, this show gets so much wrong in basic Star Wars. Like, so much of this, excuse me, need to get my spastic hand jives in, is wrong on a basic level, just Star Wars-wise. First things first, there is the Clone Youth Brigade in this episode. It's 8 clone troopers, and not full-size troopers, kids, like 8 years old. And there's 8 of them. And they're going to a Federation ship to go look at something, to go see how the ship works. It's not really well explained. And one of these people is Boba Fett. And you know he's a badass because he's got short emo hair that's spiky. Oh, by the way, the show is aesthetically not pleasing, but I'm going to get to that later. First thing, he is instantly just scowling the entire time. Total freaking asshole. Secondly, and this is one of the things that really friggin' pissed me off about this episode, the clones look different. The clones don't look all the same. They're clones! How do you mess that up? God, clones look the same. They're based off of a template. And there aren't multiple templates. They're all based off Jango Fett. But they're not. There's blonde ones. There's dark-haired ones. One of them might have even been black. So, how you screw something that simple up is beyond me. Anyways, so they're all on this ship. And besides the fact that there's no adequate explanation for why these little fuckers are on this ship, they continue to screw things up. First of all, the clones do not have children's voices. They have adult voices. They have the voices of about 25-year-old people, about a 25-year-old who chain smokes. It's terrible. They have the worst freaking voices. And instantly, Boba Fett is a whiny, preachy little fucking Mary Sue. In a scene short afterwards, they shoot skeet using the ship's turrets. I don't know why, they just do. And 2 of the other identical clone kids, get on it, you can't shoot it. Not only does Boba Fett shoot it in one shot, it's thrown out before he's even in the turret chair, and he just, whoop, bang! Problem solved. I'm a badass. Clone Trooper tosses out 3 of them, he just goes bang, bang, bang. I'm amazing at everything, but I'm going to continue scowling. Anyways, not even into the meat of it. So, the reason why these Clone Troopers are here annoys me, besides the fact that they are children. I dislike children. There's 2 things I hate, it's children and cockroaches. So, they're on this ship, and there's no reason for them to be on the ship. In fact, there's no reason to take out young clone troopers at any point anyways. they're made to be soldiers, full-size soldiers. Star Wars is not hardcore enough to have child soldiers in it. But apparently they do, because when they look at the young Boba Fett, the other clones there are saying something like, hey, I bet he's new, let's talk to him. And they say, what regiment are you from? And he lists a regiment. They say, aren't they off serving right now? Meaning, these kids should be with their respective units. They should be there doing stuff with them. They should be, I don't know what you have children doing in a galactic war against freaking droids, but apparently he's supposed to be there, and he's not. He's out there with these bastards doing God knows what. So they get on the ship, and after being, a little bit taunted. Secondly, all these kids have annoying accents. Besides having terrible voices, they have annoying accents. So moving on, and this is all in the first episode. Okay, we are maybe 10 minutes into this overall just awful, awful episode. Though, hold on, let me bring something up so I remember the names of everyone. I don't want to get this wrong. Can't remember the name of the guy. I'll find it again later. So they're on the ship, and the reason that Boba Fett is on this ship, besides the fact he's in the Clone Youth Brigade, is he works with a couple of bounty hunters whose entire purpose, or whose job right now, is to kill Mace Windu. So, after running into Anakin, who's also on the ship for some reason, and I do mean some reason, they never really tell you, and he's with them, and they go, and they see the guys, and they do the skeet shooting thing, which is dumb, and they're walking in the hallway, and Boba is capable of just disappearing from the group. He just flat out walks off. Just gone, walks away. They don't notice. They're even doing questions where they're asking each of the little recruits little questions, and he leaves. He's just gone, and they don't realize it. He gets back with the group later. No one noticed he was gone. So he goes to Mace Windu's quarters because he somehow knows where it is. He just knows. And he sets up a tripwire bomb. It's a little bomb about the size of, I'd say a 2-inch by 2-inch square. And he attaches it to the bottom of the thing so that the bottom of the door frame, so the laser comes out and he trip over it when he walks in. First things first, he keeps the little laser so close to the ground that I would not be surprised if he stepped over it. But I digress. So he sneaks off again, and, the bomb, right out of his ass. Just pulls the bomb out of his ass. When he pulls out the communicator, also pulls it out of his ass. He's just wearing this simple tunic with a belt. This is important, because it comes up again later. He's able to just hide this little thing in the belt, which I can almost say, okay, sure. So Mace Windu approaches his room, and he opens the door frame, and he's about to step in when a clone trooper walks up and says that he's needed on the bridge. And he says he needs a minute. He's going to go back into his room. He says he needs to go in now. So the clone trooper says he needs to go to the bridge now. So he says, okay. He hands the clone trooper something, saying he needs to put it in the room. Clone trooper walks in. Bomb goes off. There's an explosion. The shockwave sends Mace Windu flying backwards a little bit, and it sends, Mace Windu back a bit as well. So they fly back. There's an explosion. Everyone's alerted. Goes on lockdown. The explosion's not very big. They look inside the room, and the walls are charred, but nothing's really, blown to bits. The clone trooper dies, though. But you don't see how he died, because there's only, scuff marks on his armor. Because I guess they can't show death in this series. So, Mace Windu is fine, but they're, suspicious. There's an assassin. Somehow, this relatively small blast in the residential section of the ship blows out the entire navigational system on the frigate-type ship. They cut back to the captain, who says that they lost electrical power to navigation. How? Literally, how? The navigation system should be nowhere near the residential section. It did not blow a physical hole in the wall, so it wouldn't have been able to destroy any wiring. Finally, even if it did somehow destroy wiring, there should be redundancies in the circuitry. It shouldn't just be one continuous circuit. If it was one continuous circuit, that blast should have crippled the entire ship. So no, I call bullshit, George Lucas. You don't do that. But apparently they do. And he slipped back in with the group, and nobody knows. So it turns out, since the blast didn't work, he's going to have to go with Plan B. So, little Boba Sue sneaks off again. Again, completely without detection, barely any attempt at subterfuge or hiding. He just walks off. Just goes down a different hallway. Excuse me 1 second. Just completely walks off. And he goes towards the... that's good water. So he goes towards the ship's reactor, I don't know what he's going to do. Maybe he has another bomb, or he's going to overload it. So a clone trooper finds him and asks him what he's doing, and he lies, of course. And the guy believes him because everyone gets plot stupidity on this show. And while the clone trooper's calling in an escort to bring Boba back, he asks the model of the gun, of the blaster rifle, and is correct on which his guesses. And the clone trooper hands him the blaster during red alert, total blackout, lockdown. Anyways, he hands him the blaster rifle. So even going off of how fucking stupid these guys are, he takes the blaster rifle and attempts to club the guy in the head. Boba Fett is about 2.5 feet shorter than the guy, so he kind of whacks him across the head in the front. Nothing. The guy is just a little bit annoyed, turns back, says, "Hey, what are you doing?" So he hits him again. And this time he's actually, doing kind of damage. And they have a very small, incredibly silly-looking scuffle. Like, the battle between Kirk and the Lizard in Star Trek was significantly more well choreographed than this fight. It's dumb looking. It's incredibly silly. So after getting his hand on the blaster rifle, he shoots up the reactor, blowing the engine and making a significantly larger explosion. One that blows up practically half the fucking ship. So either explosions are small but do incredibly high damage, or bigger and blow the entire ship apart. So, moving on from there, he sneaks back in with the group. No, he doesn't even sneak back in with the group. He turns a corner and watches his guards walk around the corner, and then the group comes up behind him. He must have been missing for at least half an hour, probably longer, and no one bats an eyelash. They just let him get back in with the group. No one says a word. Seriously? So they have to go to the escape pods, and they're the little leader guy who's telling the clone troopers about what they're doing, about, I guess he's their mentor, their leader, and says, "This is your moment. Show them what you're made of." And then they just get in the escape pods and leave. Yep, sure showed a lot there. You left. That's valor, if I'd ever seen it. Lord British would be proud. Anyways, they escape, and they're flying off in the little ship. And in the ship there is Boba and 3 other little clone troopers. And they're trying to escape, but Boba's going to do something daring to get his companions to pick him up. He goes to the console and presses one button. One button in a row of 3 red buttons, just nonchalantly. And it blows one of the fins off of the ship. It then shuts off all electrical power to the ship, making it completely useless and only giving them 30 minutes of oxygen. Why the fuck do you have this button? Why on earth on your ship would you have a button that cripples the entire ship? A life pod, I remind you. So that the people inside are completely doomed and helpless. And then, to add to the moment of sheer frustrating retardation, one of the troopers, one of the little kids, turns to the pilot of the pod after losing engine in one of the fins and asks in a gravelly old voice, "Can we steer her?" Sure, you can steer the ship. It's not going anywhere. It's floating in space. It's got no forward propulsion. Can't even really, move itself because it doesn't have any fins. But sure, you can steer it. Go right ahead. So dumb. So the slave one, Boba's ship, well, Jango's ship technically, pulls up to get them, and it docks, and then the bounty hunter comes out to pick up Boba. Now, here's what you should do in a situation like this. Take the kids captive. Well, not even take the kids captive. Say you're taking one of them captive, so you have a hostage, and have it be your inside man, leaving the 3 stragglers behind. But this is Star Wars, and that's not what they do. The bounty hunter, who these 4 kids, well, 3 technically because Boba has, have never seen before, walks in, announces her name, her intent, and calls out Boba as being their inside man, instantly incriminating the 2 of them with irrefutable eyewitness evidence. And then Boba, who should have said, "I have no idea who this person is, it is a trick, works with the dark side, probably works with the Separatists, etc., etc., also rolls with this and gives himself up and goes back with the bounty hunters. So now you have eyewitness evidence that not only it completely solidifies that you were working with the bad guys. Nice. And the best part is, this plot thread doesn't go anywhere. They go back and talk to these kids. Well, no, you never see them go back and talk to the kids. They find them, and then very next scene, they still don't even really know. They still don't know it's Boba Fett as the assassin. The Jedi have no idea. And did you not interview them? That's went nowhere. That's a plot hole that you could drive a friggin' semi through. And that's the end of the first episode. And this is bad. And the worst part is it does get worse. But before I continue to the second episode, I want to bring up one more thing. And this is another instance of them messing with Star Wars lore. Jedi can sense malice. They can sense killing intent. Mace Windu passes Boba right after he sets the bomb. And he looks back to him for just a moment and then keeps walking. Using Jedi brain powers, he should have been able to identify that this kid was full of anger and rage directed at him and should have apprehended him on the spot. But he doesn't. Nice. Could have ended it right there. But he didn't. And now there's 2 more episodes, which I will get to in a moment. I need to get something to drink. My throat hurts.